When logic meets the impossible, the vacuum of space held no surprises for commanders and Thara. After 40 cycles of exploration, the Cathari had catalogued thousands of star systems, each following predictable patterns of physics and probability. The universe was logical, orderly, and completely understandable to those with sufficient intelligence. This belief had guided the Cathari Empire for millennia, turning them into the galaxy's most efficient explorers and researchers, standing on the bridge of the exploration. Vessel Quantum Tide, Zenthara reviewed the day's scanning reports with practiced precision. Her tall, crystalline form reflected the blue light of the ship's displays, and her large, multifaceted eyes processed data streams that would overwhelm most organic minds. The Cathari had evolved past the chaos of emotion and instinct, becoming beings of pure logic and calculated decision-making. "Commander," called Science Officer Velthan from his station, "we are detecting an anomalous signal from the Kepler 442 system. It appears to be a distress beacon, but according to our records, no sentient species inhabits that region." Zenthara turned her attention to the data flowing across her neural interface. The signal was weak but persistent, broadcasting on multiple frequencies with a pattern that suggested artificial origin. More intriguing was the location. Kepler 442 was a system they had marked as uninhabitable. The primary star was unstable, and the only potentially viable planet was undergoing massive volcanic activity. Analysis of the signal's origin, she requested. "The beacon appears to be transmitting from Kepler 44 to C," Velthan replied, his tone carrying the slight confusion that Cathari allowed themselves when faced with unexpected data. "The planet's surface temperature averages 67 degrees Celsius, with an atmosphere containing 12% sulfur dioxide and radiation levels, 400% above standard tolerance for most known species." Zenthara processed this information. No logical species would attempt to establish a presence on such a world. The mathematical probability of survival was effectively zero, yet the beacon continued its steady broadcast, suggesting not only survival but active operation of sophisticated equipment. "Set course for Kepler 442, she ordered. "Maximum efficiency approach. We will investigate this anomaly." The journey took 6 solar rotations, during which Zenthara's crew ran continuous scans and probability calculations. Each analysis confirmed the same impossible conclusion. Something was alive on that toxic world, and it was broadcasting a call for help in languages their computers couldn't immediately translate. As they approached the system, their sensors began picking up more detailed information. What they found challenged every assumption about survival and logic that the Cathari had developed over their long history. On the surface of Kepler 442, amid the hellish landscape of active volcanoes and toxic clouds, sat the broken remains of a massive spacecraft. The vessel had clearly crashed, its hull cracked and twisted, with sections scattered across several kilometers of rocky terrain. By all calculations, anyone aboard such a ship would have perished within hours of impact. Yet their sensors detected life signs, hundreds of them. Commander Velthan's voice carried an edge of disbelief. "The crashed vessel appears to be a colony ship of unknown design. Our scans indicate it has been on the surface for approximately 8 of their months. The life support systems failed 6 months ago. The hull breach should have exposed the occupants to lethal radiation and toxic atmosphere." Zenthara studied the readings. The data was clear and undeniable. The ship was dead, the environment was lethal, and survival was impossible. Yet there they were, not just alive, but apparently active. "Show me surface details," she commanded. The main screen displayed magnified images of the crash site. What Zenthara saw made her pause in genuine confusion. The beings on the surface had somehow expanded beyond their broken ship. They had constructed crude but functional shelters using salvaged materials and local resources. Gardens grew in what should have been sterile soil. Smoke rose from what appeared to be cooking fires. Children played in areas that should have been uninhabitable. "Identify the species," she ordered. "Analysis indicates they are humans," Velthin reported. "A relatively young species from the outer spiral arm, known for high emotional volatility and illogical decision-making patterns. They should not possess the technology or biological adaptations necessary for survival in these conditions." Zenthara had heard of humans in the galactic databases. They were considered a minor species, notable primarily for their unpredictable behavior and tendency to make decisions based on feelings rather than logic. Most advanced civilizations regarded them as an evolutionary dead end, too chaotic and emotional to achieve true greatness. Yet here they were, thriving in conditions that would kill most species within hours. "Establish communication," she decided. "We will make contact and determine how this impossible situation has occurred." The first response to their transmission came quickly, broadcast on multiple frequencies with obvious excitement and relief. The translation came through in a warm, distinctly emotional voice that sounded nothing like the efficient communications the Cathari were accustomed to. "Unknown vessel. This is colony leader Maria Santos of the Earth ship Perseverance. We are beyond grateful to hear your voice. We've been hoping for contact for months. You are most welcome here. Please, can you assist us?" Zenthara processed the transmission. The human's response was inefficient, containing unnecessary emotional expressions and offering welcome to strangers who might be hostile. It was exactly the type of illogical behavior their databases had described. "This is Commander Zenthara of the Cathari Exploration Fleet," she replied. "We received your distress signal and have come to investigate. Your situation appears ... improbable. How have you survived on this planet for 8 months? The response came with what their translators identified as laughter, a sound that served no logical purpose. "Improbable is one word for it. We've had to get creative. Would you like to come down and see for yourself? We'd be honored to show you around and share what we have." The offer was astounding. These humans, trapped in a dying ship on a toxic world, were offering to share their limited resources with complete strangers. It violated every principle of logical self-preservation. "We will send a survey team," Zenthara decided. "Prepare for visitors in 4 hours." As she assembled her team, Zenthara reviewed everything they knew about human biology and behavior. The data suggested they should be observing a desperate, dying population focused entirely on survival. Instead, their sensors showed a community that appeared to be not just surviving, but somehow flourishing. The shuttle touched down near the main settlement, and Zenthara's team emerged wearing full environmental suits. The air was indeed toxic, the radiation levels dangerous, and the temperature uncomfortable even for their advanced equipment. Yet as they approached the human settlement, they were greeted by a sight that defied all logical explanation. A woman in her 40s approached them with confident steps, wearing only basic protective gear that should have been inadequate for the conditions. Her dark hair was streaked with premature gray, and her face showed the wear of months of hardship. But her eyes held an intensity that the Cathari databases had never mentioned. This was Maria Santos, and she was smiling. "Welcome to New Perseverance," she said, gesturing to the settlement around them. I know it doesn't look like much, but we call it home. Zenthara looked around with growing confusion. The settlement was indeed crude by galactic standards, but it was clearly functional. More than that, it showed signs of expansion and improvement. These humans weren't just surviving. They were building something permanent. Your ship's life support failed 6 months ago, Zenthara stated. Your hull is breached in 17 locations. The radiation levels should have killed you within days. How is this possible? Maria's smile widened. We adapt. We improvise. We help each other. Come on, let me show you what we've built. As they walked through the settlement, Zenthara saw impossibilities everywhere. An engineer named David Chen had somehow rigged a water purification system using salvaged components and local minerals. It shouldn't have worked, but it was providing clean water for over 400 people. A doctor named Sarah Kim was treating radiation sickness with a combination of salvaged medical supplies and what she called community healing, which seemed to involve emotional support and group activities. Most confusing of all was the central gathering area, where humans had built what they called a community center. It served no direct survival function, yet it was clearly the heart of their settlement. People gathered there to share meals, tell stories, make music, and simply spend time together. Children played games while adults discussed plans for expanding their settlement. Asterisk. This is inefficient, Velthan observed quietly. They are expending energy and resources on activities that do not contribute to immediate survival needs. Yet, as Zenthara watched, she noticed something remarkable. The humans who spent time in the community center seemed to work more effectively afterward. They cooperated more readily, solved problems more creatively, and showed greater resilience in the face of adversity. It was as if these inefficient activities were somehow making them stronger. Your survival depends on abandoning this planet, Zenthara told Maria as they concluded their tours. We can provide transport to a more suitable world. This place will kill you. Maria looked at her with those intense eyes. This place has been trying to kill us for 8 months. We're still here. We're not just surviving, we're growing. We've found something here that we can't abandon. What could possibly be worth risking your lives for? Each other, Maria replied simply. Hope, the future we're building together. You can't calculate the value of that. As they prepared to return to their ship, Zenthara found herself struggling with concepts that had no place in her logical worldview. The humans were making decisions based on factors that couldn't be quantified or analyzed. They were choosing to stay in a dangerous place because of feelings and abstract concepts that served no practical purpose. Yet they were succeeding where logic said they should fail. That night, as Zenthara reviewed her team's observations, she made a decision that would prove more significant than she could imagine. Instead of completing their survey and moving on, they would stay. They would study these humans and try to understand what made them capable of achieving the impossible. She had no idea that this decision would change not just her understanding of humans, but her understanding of what it truly meant to be alive in a universe that was far stranger and more wonderful than pure logic could ever comprehend. The humans had survived 8 months on a world that should have killed them. Now, Zenthara was about to discover that survival was just the beginning of what they were capable of achieving. The power beyond. Logic Commander Zenthara had spent 3 days observing the human settlement from orbit, and each day brought new impossibilities. The humans had not only survived the night when the temperature dropped to -40 degrees Celsius, but they had somehow maintained morale and productivity. Their makeshift heating systems, cobbled together from ship components and local materials, should have failed within hours. Instead, they had worked flawlessly, powered by what David Chen called determination and a little bit of luck. The Kethari had no word for luck. Their language contained no concept for random chance favoring the prepared mind. Yet these humans seemed to generate favorable outcomes through sheer force of will and mutual cooperation. On the fourth day, Zenthara's careful observations were interrupted by an emergency that would forever change her understanding of what it meant to be human. Commander Velthan S. Voice carried urgent warning. Massive seismic activity detected. The volcano chain, 7 kilometers south of the human settlement, is showing signs of imminent eruption. Based on geological analysis, the pyroclastic flow will reach their location in approximately 4 hours. Zenthara immediately ran the calculations. The approaching volcanic eruption would be catastrophic. The flow of superheated gas and rock would obliterate everything in its path. The human settlement, built in the valley for protection from the wind, would be directly in the path of destruction. Prepare for immediate evacuation, she ordered. We will extract as many humans as possible before the eruption reaches them. But as she opened communications with the human settlement, she discovered something that would haunt her for the rest of her existence. The humans already knew about the eruption. Their primitive instruments had detected the seismic activity hours ago, yet they were not preparing for evacuation. Maria Santos, Zenthara called urgently. You must evacuate immediately. The volcanic eruption will reach your settlement in less than 4 hours. We can transport your people to safety. Maria's response came through clearly, though Zenthara could hear the sounds of frantic activity in the background. Commander, we're grateful for your offer, but we can't leave. 17 of our people are trapped in the mining tunnels beneath. The old ship, the seismic activity, caused a collapse. We won't abandon them. Zenthara processed this information with growing disbelief. The probability of successful rescue is less than 12%. The logical choice is to evacuate those who can. Be saved rather than risk everyone for a few. Logic isn't everything, Commander, Maria replied. These aren't just a few people. They're our friends, our family. Tom Rodriguez down there has a 3-year-old daughter. Alina Vasquez is 6 months pregnant. Marcus Thompson saved 12 lives during the crash. We don't leave people behind. As Zenthara watched from orbit, she witnessed something that challenged every principle of efficient decision-making. Instead of evacuating, the humans organized into rescue teams. They ignored the approaching death that would claim them all, and focused entirely on saving their trapped companions. David Chen led a team into the unstable tunnels, carrying equipment that was inadequate for the task. Dr. Sarah Kim set up a medical station at the tunnel entrance, preparing to treat anyone they brought out alive. Maria Santos coordinated the entire operation while simultaneously preparing the rest of the settlement for possible evacuation if the rescue succeeded. This is madness, Velthan observed. They are guaranteeing their own destruction for a statistically insignificant chance of saving 17 individuals. Yet, as Zenthara watched, she saw something remarkable happening. The humans worked with a coordination and efficiency that surpassed anything in her experience. They anticipated each other's needs, shared resources without being asked, and pushed themselves beyond their physical limits. It was as if the approaching disaster had unlocked some hidden potential in their species. 3 hours before the eruption would reach them, David Chen's team broke through to the trapped miners. They found all 17 alive but injured. The Rescue operation began immediately, with humans forming a chain to carry the injured to safety. They worked in the tunnels even as the ground shook beneath them and toxic gases made breathing difficult, with 2 hours remaining. They had evacuated 12 of the trapped miners. 5 remained, including Tom Rodriguez, who had been the most severely injured. The tunnel was becoming increasingly unstable, and the rescue teams were showing signs of exhaustion and radiation poisoning. Maria Zenthara transmitted urgently, "You must evacuate now. The remaining 5 cannot be saved. Do not sacrifice 400 lives for 5. Maria's response came through strained but determined. "Commander, would you abandon 5 of your crew if they were trapped?" The question struck Zenthara unexpectedly. In Kethari culture, the logical answer was clear. The needs of the many outweighed the needs of the few. 5 lives were not worth 400 lives. Yet as she prepared to explain this logical principle, she found herself thinking of Valthan, of her engineering officer Kekstar, of the young navigators Ilwan. If they were trapped, would she simply calculate their worth and abandon them? The thought created a sensation she had never experienced before. It was uncomfortable, illogical, and completely at odds with her training. Yet it was undeniably real. I would evacuate them," she replied, surprising herself with the words. Then, "You understand," Maria said. "We don't abandon our people. Not ever." With 1 hour remaining, the rescue teams brought out the final 5 miners. Tom Rodriguez was barely conscious, but he was alive. The humans cheered as if they had won a great victory, even though they still faced certain death from the approaching eruption. But they were not finished with their impos IBI litters. As the evacuation finally began, Zenthara watched in amazement. As the humans organized their withdrawal with the same efficiency they had shown in the rescue, they moved in family groups, helping the elderly and injured, carrying children and essential supplies. But they also carried things that served no survival purpose: photographs, musical instruments, a small garden plant that an elderly woman refused to leave behind. "Why are they carrying non-essential items?" Valthan asked. "They need to move quickly, because those things are essential," Zenthara replied, finally beginning to understand. "They're essential to being human." The evacuation reached the designated safe zone just as the eruption began. The pyroclastic flow swept through the valley, obliterating everything the humans had built. New Perseverance was gone, consumed by superheated gas and molten rock. 8 months of work, all their improvised systems, their community center, their gardens, all of it was destroyed in minutes. The logical response to such devastation would be despair and defeat. The humans had lost everything they had worked to build. They were back to square one, with injured people, limited supplies, and no shelter. Instead, they began to rebuild. As the volcanic ash settled, Maria Santos stood before her people and spoke words that would echo in Zenthara's mind for the rest of her existence. "We've lost our buildings, but we haven't lost what matters most. We have each other. We have hope. We have the knowledge we've gained and the bonds we've forged. We'll build again, and we'll build better." The humans didn't just rebuild, they improved. They used lessons learned from the first settlement to create better designs. They incorporated materials from the volcanic ash to strengthen their structures. They established early warning systems and emergency procedures. Within weeks, New Perseverance 2 was not just functional, but superior to its predecessor. More remarkably, the disaster had brought them closer together. The shared experience of loss and renewal had strengthened their community bonds. They worked with even greater cooperation, shared resources more freely, and supported each other through the challenges of starting over. Zenthara found herself visiting the settlement daily, drawn by a fascination she couldn't explain. She watched as Dr. Sarah Kim developed new medical techniques, combining their limited technology with what she called holistic healing. She observed as David Chen trained others in his engineering methods, ensuring that their survival didn't depend on any single individual. She saw children playing games that helped them process the trauma of the disaster while building resilience for future challenges. "I don't understand them," she confided to Velthan one evening as they watched the humans' daily gathering in their new community center. "They make decisions that defy all logic, yet they succeed. They sacrifice efficiency for emotional satisfaction, yet they achieve more than species with superior technology and resources. How is this possible?" Velthan had been observing as well, and his response surprised her. Perhaps logic is not the only form of intelligence. Perhaps what we call inefficiency is actually a more sophisticated form of problem-solving that we have lost. The comment disturbed Zenthara. The Cathari had spent millennia refining their logical processes, eliminating emotional responses and instinctive reactions. They had achieved great things through pure reason and calculated decision-making. The idea that they might have lost something valuable in the process was ... unsettling. That night, she made a decision that would have been impossible for her just weeks earlier. She asked Maria Santos if she could stay in the settlement for a few days, not as an observer, but as a participant. "I want to understand," she explained. "I want to know what gives you the strength to achieve impossible things." Maria's response was immediate and warm. "You're welcome to stay as long as you want. We'd be honored to have you." The next few days transformed Zenthara's understanding of existence itself. She participated in the humans' daily routines, worked alongside them on construction projects, and joined their evening gatherings. She experienced things she had never imagined: the satisfaction of creating something with her own hands, the warmth of shared laughter, the comfort of community, support during moments of doubt. Most profound was her experience during a memorial service for Marcus Thompson, one of the miners who had died from injuries sustained during the rescue. The humans gathered to remember his life, share stories about him, and support his family. They spoke of his courage, his kindness, and his love for his work. They celebrated his contributions to their community and promised to honor his memory by continuing to care for each other. Zenthara found herself experiencing something unprecedented: grief for someone she had barely known. The emotion was painful, but also strangely meaningful. She began to understand that the human's ability to form deep emotional connections was not a weakness, but a source of incredible strength. "You see now," Maria said to her after the service, "we don't just survive. We live, we love, we hope, we dream. These things give us strength that no amount of logic or technology can provide." On her final day in the settlement, Zenthara made an offer that surprised even herself. "My government has authorized me to provide advanced technology to assist your colony. We can give you proper life support systems, advanced medical equipment, and transportation to a more suitable world." Maria considered the offer carefully. "We're grateful, Commander, but we've learned something important here. We've learned that the most advanced technology in the universe is the human spirit working together. We'd welcome your friendship and your knowledge, but we don't want to lose what makes us human." As Zenthara prepared to return to her ship, She realized that she had found something she hadn't known she was looking for. The humans had shown her that there was more to existence than efficient problem-solving and logical decision-making. They had shown her the power of hope, love, community, and the willingness to sacrifice for others. Commander Velthan said as they departed the planet, "The humans have agreed to cultural exchange. They want to learn about our technology and science. What do we have to learn from them?" Xanthera looked back at the small settlement that had somehow become a symbol of everything she was beginning to understand about the universe. "We have everything to learn from them. They've shown us that survival is not the highest goal. Living is. They've shown us that logic alone is not enough. We need hope, love, and the courage to do impossible things for each other." As the quantum tide departed the Kepler 442 system, Xanthara carried with her a new understanding of what it meant to be truly alive. The humans had not just survived impossible conditions, they had thrived by embracing the very qualities that made them human. They had shown her that the universe was far more wonderful and complex than pure logic could ever comprehend. The galaxy would never be the same, and neither would she. Asterisk,